Good afternoon, everyone. I'm afraid my session will not be half as entertaining as the session before that. So I have a huge challenge in presenting the session that I'll be presenting today. But I'll try and make this as short and concise and open to questions, any clarifications, or anything anyone wants to discuss. Everyone we speak to wants to get out of traditional careers, traditional banking jobs, IT jobs, and start their own businesses, their own ventures. In fact, so much so that India has been touted as the second most attractive destination for startups after the Silicon Valley. It's been a growing market, and the kind of FDI that we've seen in the Indian market has actually surpassed China in 2015. The net FDI that India has seen has been over $39 billion. And in Q1 2016 itself, this figure is about $1.13 billion. I know there's a lot of conversation around how markets are slowing down. There's not too much VC activity. But actually, the truth is that the texture of the investments has changed. 2015 was all about large investments, investments in Snapdeal, investments in Flipkart, $100 million in Oyo Rooms, in Grofers. Right now, what we're seeing is smaller ticket sizes, but diverse investments across varied sectors, be it food tech, fintech, SaaS, home services, you name it. And every sector is now seeing presence in India. VC funds world over have set up express centers in India to be able to invest in these companies at a very early growth stage. Law firms, the most capable law firms have set up specialized division to be able to advise startups on legal formalities. So why should banking be left far behind? So clearly, on that note, I would just like to introduce you all to the fact that all banks today are in line with the business sentiment in India and setting up specific centers or specialized units which would only be focusing on startups and startup requirements. Now, startups by themselves face a lot of challenges, and the government has been very forthcoming in setting up startup funds, in changing regulations. The Modi government is talking about Make in India. The RBI is talking about a 2,000 crore startup fund. Similarly, banks are also going forward to change their path, to change regulation, and to make things slightly easier for startups. So when a company starts its operations, what are the challenges that it faces? Anybody? Okay. So they're all, sure, please. Funding, okay, great. Yeah, I was going to come to that in step 2. So they're raised with the question of how to get funding, how to expand their operations. So they have great ideas, but they don't have as many people. So raising funding is a big question for them. How to raise funding, how much funding to raise, from who should they raise funding, what should the term sheet look like, what should be the structure of funding, how do we draw down the funding? So these are questions that we sort of answer for them over a period of time. So whether it's introducing startups to VC funds, guiding them from our own experience, helping them out with FDI regulation, with RBI regulation. So very often these startups don't have a large number of people who will be able to guide them on RBI regulation. As banks, it's our responsibility to be able to help them to follow the right rules and regulations so that they're not only RBI compliant, but they're also not fined for non-compliance. So that is the first challenge that startups face, and banks play a huge pivotal role in being able to help them out. The second challenge, in my opinion, that startups face is with liquidity management. So they've raised funds, but they're not really sure on how to use these funds. What should be the duration? How can they earn a better interest rate on these funds? So we have very sound wealth management capabilities which help these startups to advise them on how they can get their money to better use. The third and most important aspect is, so these startups are looking to grow. They're looking to expand overseas. They're looking, to build on their global footprint. Now, if a Coca-Cola wants to, expand to a different geography or to a different country, 200 banks will be willing to help them with their banking operations. Unfortunately, that's not the case with startups. At Citi, primarily, and I'm sure a lot of other banks are following suit, we try helping these startups with more relaxed norms, with credit portability, helping them expand their operations overseas, helping them with bank accounts, helping them with financing options. So those are the things that we're able to help startups with in the growth stage. As these companies expand, they're also looking at working capital facilities. They're looking at credit lines. While VCs look at forward projections, they look at what a company will do, what a startup will do in 3 to 5 years. Banks always look at the rearview mirror. They look at what you've done. They look at what the last 3 years have looked like, what your asset book looks like, what your financials look like. We've devised solutions wherein we're able to help clients with financing at low-cost options. So these could be from dollar-based financing, loans, short-term loans, capital loans, buyer's credit, which is helping importers finance at lower costs, just to be able to make their business a little more conducive, as opposed to rupee financing, which ends up being thrice as expensive. When these companies expand their operations, they also need help with payment solutions. So payment solutions as well as funding solutions. We've devised ways wherein we help e-com companies in particular to bifurcate their revenue generation between the commission income as well as the complete income that they need to pass on to the seller. We also help with escrow services when it comes to share transfer and funding transfer. There are solutions across payment gateways which help in receivables, exact receivables being transferred to their accounts at an immediate basis. And lastly, as we move on to the consolidation phase, banks are also able to help startups with buyout of shares, transfer agreements, M&A transactions, and so on. This is just a flavor of how banks today are moving beyond their chartered path to be able to help startups with their business and their functioning. I will take you very briefly through what Citi does in this space and how is it that we are able to help startups through our functions. Just one second. Okay, so our footprint is actually across the country, across 44 branches in about 31 cities. We're seen more by our ATMs as the number of branches are limited. But what we do take pride in is the business solutions that we're able to offer. So whether it's foreign exchange advisory, a lot of companies are raising FDI. They're not really sure on how to hedge their risk because there is a lot of volatility between currencies. So we have a team of experts which actually helps clients to sort of understand how they should draw down the funds, what is the time horizon in which they should be able to reduce and mitigate their risk on those receivables. We also have an online portal which helps clients look at live rates, especially pertinent to those who have foreign exchange transactions or receivables in foreign currency. So we have a live portal which is linked to a Reuters screen, which we make available to our clients so that they're able to view live rates at any given point in time. We have a team of specialists which helps clients, advises them on not just fund management, but also treasury solutions. We have a team of experts which helps them on all RBI and FEMA-related issues. We're also supported by a very strong trade unit which helps clients with all their import of goods, export of goods, and all regulation around this space. Our strength lies actually in our global network because Citi is present in over 100 countries. So if a business is looking to expand, we can very easily help you to set up operations in a different country. Over a period of time, we also help with credit portability, which basically means that if you have any kind of fund-based requirement in India and any kind of funding that the bank has given you here, we are also able to expand that overseas, which is very difficult for a startup. Okay, I'll skip. Okay, today is a time of digital banking where everyone wants everything on the go. So we have powered a lot of solutions to everything which is online. So whether it is transactions, foreign exchange transactions, which we help you with, your currency risk, or email banking, everything is done through an email alert or phone banking. We understand that startups are very lean in structure. They don't have a specialized team of people looking specifically at their banking transactions, unlike large corporates. So we have tried to digitize as much of banking as possible for startups. This is what I just mentioned. We have a live FX screen which helps you track rates on a daily basis. In addition to that, we also help you with all your trade transactions, which is basically bill discounting, giving you loans against bills that are outstanding, bill collection services. We also have something, we were actually the pioneers in something called packing credit, which we are able to give you in foreign currency, which is a LIBOR-linked loan, which is available at maybe 1/3 the cost of rupee-denominated financing, and also helps you in better cash flow management. The biggest strength about Citi is that you're able to leverage the global network of Citi being present across the globe and to be able to expand operations. So whether it's your buyers or sellers and you need financing for them, you're able to leverage that network through Citi. And this is available not just for large corporates, but we've expanded the service even for startups and for entrepreneurs. We also go beyond, in fact, the slide before this, which I skipped, we also help with business insurance. We understand that your business is important to you. So we also have in-house services where we help you with fire insurance, group personal accident, insurance for your employees. So what we try and do is that we understand that, our startups may not have very, very large arms to look at all of these services individually, which is why we provide this bouquet of services available to you under one umbrella. We also help you with investment solutions. So this is both for your company as well as for individuals. We've also gone beyond where we help really small startups, with their employee accounts, giving their employees assistance across credit cards, salary accounts, guidelines where they don't have to maintain balance with us, because we understand and we see the potential in their growth, and we want to partner with them at a growth stage. We also help, City Mortgage is a very, very strong line. We also help, with mortgage loans against properties. The most important feature, actually, where City was a pioneer, was the International Corporate Credit Card, where we help companies bifurcate their expenses between personal and company expenses, and we're able to give them a corporate card with MISs for all their business purposes. So this is something which helps in reconciliation and reduces the cost and time that they spend on reconciling their business expenses. So all in all, just to let you know that we understand that the entrepreneurs today, the startups today face a lot of challenges. And banking is not just a service provider, but can also be a partner in these services, which is what our experience has been. We understand that startups need individual solutions. They don't need something by the book. Every startup is different. Every startup has a different idea, a different target audience. And we try to tailor-make their solutions according to their needs. So be it marketing campaigns, be it advertising, be it getting e-com sites listed on our website for Wednesday sales. At City, we try helping startups as much as we can in every way that we can. And I'd just like to end with a very small quote. It's often said that a banker gives you an umbrella when you don't need one and takes it away when it starts raining. I get that a lot also. But now I do believe that times have changed. We are willing to walk with you in the rain and also give you a raincoat along with the umbrella. Thank you. Any questions? Sure, please.
Most vital dilemma that a startup goes with is the funding part.
Absolutely.
And as far as I know about the banking thing, startup is a very risky business.
Very.
He is new in the market, doesn't have a collateral to lend you. I don't know, is there any bank available which is ready to fund a startup when there is no collateral that he can put forth? He has no experience. He has no contacts. So where does City play a part in that? Where they help the startup raise funds?
Yeah, so before you go ahead on that question, I had a very similar question, actually a part of it. That, if I were in Silicon Valley, I could get funding based on my qualification and my experience. Absolutely. I don't need any collateral, right? Will any bank be able to do that in India?
Okay, so I'll take that in two parts. So startups struggle with what I probably forgot to mention, what I should have mentioned, is not just with they struggle with things as basic as not having office premises, right? Or operating out of their homes. Today we've gotten a little fancy and we have co-working spaces. But 5 years ago, we did not even have a term of, an Investopad or a co-working space. So when I actually started working in this segment, I was very excited with the opportunity that it presented. But I saw the challenges. So there were people with great ideas, and some of them are doing very, very well right now, while success rates, I understand, are low. But there was a lot of dilemma around how do you open a bank account for someone who does not even have a commercial premise? Funding is a long shot. We would meet clients who said that we wanted to raise debt financing. Now, a bank can do debt financing. A bank cannot do equity financing. So they will struggle with equity financing because, investors weren't really sure. The market today, sir, is far more open than it has been 5 years ago. And I think India has come a long way in terms of acceptability, in terms of a startup becoming a norm, in terms of people quitting their jobs or not even getting into a job, but starting something because they believe they have a great idea. And there is far more acceptance today. We should be honest about it. So I think as a country, we've come a long way. We were a country which only believed in everyone becoming a doctor or an engineer. An entrepreneur was someone sitting in a sari shop, not starting their own business. So even for parents, for institutions, for society, I think we've come a long way. So that is one. I do appreciate your point that in Silicon Valley, it is very, very easy to raise funding. You have a great idea, there'll be more than 10 people willing to put money. India is going through a lot of rejuggling on the legal framework, on the regulatory framework, on the paperwork that we expect from startups. I've been through cases where there's a bunch of 21-year-olds with a great idea, doing something great, but they've got some money into their bank account, they don't know how to file the RBI regulation, and if they don't file it in time, there will be a huge penalty on them. But today we're able to sort of support them because we ourselves have devised teams of specialists. I'm exceptionally impressed with the fact that State Bank of India has something called InCube, which are branches only for startups. And that is the State Bank of India, where people of my age group would not even enter thinking that it's a very, what we call a Sarkari bank, and we wouldn't want to be associated with it. But it's great that an SBI has come of age. So all of this is actually a paradigm shift that India is seeing over a period of time. And maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we would be in a Silicon Valley kind of a stage. But what has happened with us is there's been a lot of excitement. There's been a lot of funding that's come in. So there's been a lot of media hype about it. And now the dust is sort of settling down. So I do believe that there is a long way that we will go. I know some banks are talking about something called a startup fund. So they've started, like, I was just reading about another bank which is starting an incubation center. I know ultra-high net worth individuals and people heading large corporates who are mentoring startups, because these guys may have a great idea, but they may have lesser experience in running a business. So maybe the likes of some of you, who head like some very large law firms or consulting firms can actually help these startups in day-to-day business and day-to-day running, because what they need is not just money, but also some guidance, on how to run a business. So all of that is actually changing. And to answer your question on loans, for example, right? So that will take some time. The very fact that today, as a bank, we are able to open a bank account for someone without a commercial premise is coming of age. I've been with Citi, with HSBC in India and abroad. I haven't seen that happen in a very long time. The very fact that we're able to do marketing campaigns, get some of our e-com sites on our website, do credit cards for them, with lesser collateral. We've also changed our internal guidelines. But to completely answer your question, what your expectation is, would take some time. Equity financing is what VCs can do, and debt financing is what banks can do. 5 years ago, we were not able to do any kind of debt financing, cashback. Even cashback financing, we were not able to do for companies which did not have a 3-year track record. Today, we are doing cashback facilities for startups. So that, I do believe, is coming of age.